The first inductee, Dr. Stephen Schneider, who was one of the earliest people to warn about climate change. And just from the general controversies around climate change, you can appreciate what it took for him to pursue his science. Stephen Henry Schneider was born on February 11th, 1945 in New York. He was a brilliant student. He was a graduate of Columbia University, where he also received a doctorate in mechanical engineering and plasma physics in 1971. He first worked as a climatologist at the National Center for Atmospheric Research for more than 20 years before he joined the Stanford faculty in the mid-90s. And in the grand tradition of California scientists who've used their talents and training to tame society's greatest challenges, he and his wife, Terry Root, led groundbreaking research on the impacts of human-caused climate change on the distribution and abundance of plant and animal species. He advised the administration of every president from Richard Nixon to Barack Obama. I don't know if they all listened to him, but pretty extraordinary range of his clients. As a climate scientist, his life work was decision-making in the face of great uncertainty. This was so much a part of his being that when he was diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma, a rare condition for which treatments were relatively new, he researched probabilities and outcomes and modified the decisions made by his doctors. Schneider is credited with pioneering research on a number of fronts. He conducted early research on the effects of aerosol particles on climate. He developed numerical and computer models for studying climate change. He also was one of the first scientists to devise an approach for detecting the signs of climate change and distinguishing them from natural changes. Steve was warning about the dangers of climate change for many, many years, long before others realized the great peril that it posed. In later years, he focused on risk analysis, devising schemes to determine the probability of various outcomes of global warming, from the disintegration of ice sheets to the shutdown of Atlantic Ocean currents. And I had the pleasure, when we both testified before the EPA on the question of whether California would be granted a waiver, which only California can get, to have stricter tailpipe emission standards. And this was a bill that Governor Gray Davis signed, but in order to put it into effect to reduce the permissible levels of emissions and thereby reduce climate disrupting chemicals, we had to get the permission of the EPA. And so we were both testifying there together. I was Attorney General, and he was the expert. And it was just something to behold. Not only does he have the scientific knowledge and the expertise, but he made complicated stuff appear to be very understandable, very powerful. Well, we didn't quite prevail then, but later when President Obama came into office, the EPA granted the waiver, and then California adopted these tighter standards, and then just a couple of years later, the whole rest of the country followed. So again, the people we honor in so many different ways are part of this genius of California leading the way. From the gold rush right on, there are people doing things socially, artistically, politically, for labor unions, for minority groups, you name it. There are people in this state that are making our own state better. They're putting their imprint on history, but they're affecting the history of the whole country and even the world. So with that, I'd like to bring Terry Root, his wife, his widow, to come forward to receive the award.
I promised I'm not going to cry. Steve died 4 years ago, and I thought I would be. I will be. I'll be okay. So thank you, Governor Brown, for honoring my late husband with this prestigious award. Like you, Steve fought hard for what he understood to be true and worked equally as hard to help the public understand the facts of climate change. With the disinformation groups being so well funded and organized, this has not been an easy job for any of us. So again, thank you for honoring my late husband and for the tireless work that you have done to actually combat climate change. Okay, I did it.